understand what you're saying. No.
There it is.
Let's hear it.
Well, let's hear it.
Talk to us. Uh-oh.
Beadle and Decker, taking on sports talk like no one else. Michelle Beadle,
I'm just helping. I'm helping America one by one.
Cody Decker.
I 100% believe in revenge. Revenge is a great thing.
Back to the sports.
Back and ready for more.
Every time I tune them out, they pull me back in.
It's Beadle and Decker. Here's Michelle and Cody.
Hello, everyone. That is right. We are live here from the West Coast, Los Angeles, California, myself. Welcome to Beadle and Decker. I am Cody Decker. No Michelle Beadle today. She will be back live tomorrow right here at noon Pacific time. And we thank you so much for joining us live and joining us today. Once again, you need a pinch hitter. You need to get your hands on some of the best guys available. And there's not many guys that are more available and or more best than this man right here. Joined me last week. He'll be joining me again later on this week. You know him from the Craig Carton show that you can check out on Sports Grid. He is a Philly icon as far as I'm concerned. The one and only Tyrone Johnson. Tyrone, how you doing, my guy? Welcome back to Beadle and Decker, man. I'd say 3 off because you will be back again joining us. I believe, was it Friday this week? And go fired up. Well, dude, we cut it up so well last go around. All the chat was absolutely digging it. So I'm so thrilled to have you back here. And let's be real clear here. We're starting the day. Today basically writes itself because I can't stress this enough. As a guy that's a former baseball player, you're rocking your Philly gear as we currently speak. And what can we say other than we have ourselves some controversy in Major League Baseball, and it all surrounds Tony Clark. Now, those of you that don't know much about Tony Clark, of course, he was a longtime Major League Baseball player, played, 15 years. He is one of the tallest guys I've ever seen on a baseball field, but he's also more recently the executive director of the Major League Baseball Players Association. And dude, it's coming out today that he will be resigning from his post, a post that he's been at for a very, 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 very long time, all the way back to my rookie year of playing professional baseball. Back in 2009, I believe he was still our union head at the time. And I have had some interactions with Tony Clark. Yes, I'm looking very forward to telling you all about them. Am I shedding a tear? Let me just go ahead and say, no, I'm not. I think Major League Baseball Players Association deserves better leadership than Tony Clark, but that's just my opinion. But here is the facts. Tony Clark is resigning as of right now while being under investigation from New York, specifically for the following things, Tyrone Johnson, and it's kind of fascinating to me. Here are the key allegations that he is being accused of. Improper financial enrichment. So apparently Clark and other union executives have been under investigation from the U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District of New York regarding the use of license money. Specifically, he's specifically accused of improperly giving himself equity in One Team Partners, which is something that's very interesting to me because One Team Partners is not just Major League Baseball PA. It's also the NFL PA. So you're telling me he's being accused of skimming a little bit off the top from not only his own PA, but the NFL PA? That seems like a problem, dude. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, it's a I'll go a step further. It's a big ass problem, big old fucking problem, because here's another thing he's being accused of: misuse of union resources. A whistleblower complaint filed with the National Labor Relations Board alleges that Clark misused union funds for excessive personal spending, including international and domestic trips for himself and other senior executives. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say I don't give a shit about this one. Anybody that's in an executive position, I just assume does this. We're watching literal people in our government do this daily. Kristi Noem is spending like $400 million on her private jets. This is just something people apparently fucking do. And whether it's legal or not legal, at this point, it doesn't even seem to fucking matter.
Yeah, I don't even care about this. Like, the head of the FBI is using private planes on taxpayer dime to go watch his girlfriend sing. So, like, am I really going to be upset about this one? This one to me is probably the most minor of all the allegations.
I
And
agree.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to find a reason to be upset about it, and I'm just not. Okay,
So we're
when
one.
you
Oh, go ahead.
well,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
no.
So far,
So
we're
when
1 for 2, though. But
yeah. Well, like you flew to wherever you flew to, and you put it on the union's dime, and you probably had a phone call or a meeting with somebody half-assed. Yeah, I don't care.
yeah, that one's not a big deal. Then number 3, nepotism. Now I'm gonna throw this also in the don't really give a shit category because we're pretending nepotism doesn't exist in all of these levels. Major League Baseball, hell, I played with like 9 superstars kids who couldn't fucking
Right.
pick up a ball or a bat. But if those of you are wondering what the nepotism allegations towards Tony Clark are, the allegations suggest that Clark used his influence to secure jobs for family members, including his daughter being employed by Players Way and another daughter being hired by the NFLPA through his influence. Okay, don't care about this one either because, quite frankly, who in a powerful position does not take care of their kids or get their kids a job? We see it all over the place.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, the NFL commissioner literally got his job initially with the NFL because of his father, and now he runs the whole thing. This is very common, and I guess we can have a larger conversation at a different time about how nepotism, some of maybe the issues it causes, but
Mhm.
that's not Tony Clark's fault. Tony Clark's just trying to be as good a dad as he can be, and this one, I don't care.
Yeah, this one's not ringing any bells for me, but this one does. Transparency and disclosure failures. Now, this one's a little bit bigger, not unlike the initial one where he's being accused of skimming a little bit off the top from the NFL and MLBPA. But transparency and disclosure failures, Clark is accused of failing to properly disclose the amount of union resources being funneled into Players Way. Additionally, he reportedly failed to file required LM30 reports since 2008.
Come on.
That's a year before I started playing professional baseball, everyone. That was nearly 20 years ago. So something you kind of need to do, which is, by the way, this is used to disclose high value gifts such as private flights and, bottles of alcohol or whatever gifts that may be. That being said, I do think the biggest red flag here is the skimming off the top and rewarding oneself, which is a very unique thing from a union head, considering the fact of everything you just touched on. The money needs to be there for multiple reasons because, like you said, it's looking like we're coming closer and closer to a work stoppage because them owners want them a salary cap in the biggest and baddest ways. And the one thing that I always heard Tony Clark say, and every player in every CBA meeting I've ever been in, no fucking way you're getting that in a million years. We're in for a fight, dude.
Yeah, and you have to take that approach. Whatever you actually think about the cap out there, please understand that the MLBPA, because they've never had a cap, must take that stance to start with. Whatever's going to happen eventually is eventually, but to start with, it's very important. You're doing a disservice to the members if you don't make your initial stance, hell no, no cap ever, because you lose the first bit of your negotiating power. Because if there's going to be a cap, well, then the question becomes how high, and then more importantly, how high is the salary floor going to be? You lose a lot of things when you start off with, okay, I'm okay with the cap. It must start with no cap. Therefore, the owners are going to say, when that happens, that's December 1st is when it could start. If you're the owners, you probably then say, I'll see you in 3 months. Because that way it kind of guarantees you're missing games. That's just to start with. They'll go, okay, December, all right, January 1st. We'll have our meeting March 1st will be our next meeting. If you do, when you do that. And because of that, you have to make sure your ducks in a row financially to take care of the players that aren't rich. Because as many players that are rich, there's more that aren't. And when I'm talking about rich, I'm not talking about rich compared to the regular man that works at the plant. I'm talking about a person who now can go without any income. And the majority of these guys can't. Apparently, I've heard that there's a certain amount of money set aside to where the players could afford to go a full year and nobody miss a meal. Beyond that,
That's what I was told back when I was in all these CBA meetings when I was a player. They were adamant that every player needs to be steadfast because we got the money. We got the money. We got the money. And now I'm finding out Tony Clark allegedly has got the money in his own bank account. That seems like a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start this with you being the expert on this. When you hear about Tony Clark stealing, before we get into your personal thing, your anecdotal story that you have from Tony Clark, before we get there, how do you get here? How do you get to the point where the head of a union 10 months before a possible stoppage, or 9.5 months now before a possible stoppage, could be facing prison time?
I mean, God, obviously my first thought, now I'm not in the realm of trying to defend Tony Clark all the time. And I'll tell you why. I even tweeted about it earlier and it's actually getting a little bit of run. And I will get into that, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the owners are somehow infallible and that the owners are probably not the very ones behind this, because we've always seen it. We've seen Rob Manfred and Tony Clark not get along. Hell, we see them in public together. It looks like a fist fight will break out any given second when they're near each other. Right. And barbs have been thrown back and forth for years and years and years. And I have to say, over the last probably decade and a half, I got to say, it's gotten about as contentious as humanly possible between the Players Association and the ownership group. But how does this happen? I can't help but look at the dark side. Can't you just see it being the owners that absolutely either, listen, I'm not accusing anyone of planting anything, but it definitely seems that the timing is very, very suspect. 10 months and literally 3 days before the negotiations are really about to begin, we get Tony Clark ousted, who's been the executive director of this for nearly 20 years. Dude, I'm just saying it seems fishy as shit to me.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, and this is a conspiracy theory that's now online, is that the players, the high-profile players, the powerful players, no names have been given, obviously. They think Tony Clark is not prepared for the fight that's ahead because it's probably going to be the nastiest one. And let's not forget that in the 90s, we had a whole World Series canceled at a strike. And thank God for Cal Ripken, if you care about baseball, and then the steroid thing that brought the game back. I know people are mad about the steroids now. They weren't mad about it when everybody was hitting all those home runs. They loved it, and it helped save the game. But this is allegedly going to be a worse fight than that. And there's a conspiracy theory that it was perhaps an inside job, that there's some people around that go, you know what? Tony's not built for this. Tony's not DeMaurice Smith, for example, who's the only reason we're not already at 18 games with the same amount of roster spots in the NFL, for example, that he's not built for it. And the theory, again, a conspiracy theory, is that it was an inside job to kind of leak this out to get Tony out now, get someone perhaps more competent in, because this fight, I just want to be clear, enjoy baseball this season, because you literally may go a year without it after this season.
It's a real possibility that this is going to happen, and it's going to be very, very ugly. And it's getting annoying as shit. And by the way, you mentioned who's going to replace him. We'll get into that as well. But here's the thing. Like, I would not be shocked at all if a player or group of players were behind the ousting, because I will freely admit, as a former player, as somebody that's been in these meetings, I can't stress enough, I did not have a ton of faith in Tony Clark going into these meetings. And I'll tell you why before we get to the possible replacements. I had been in several of these meetings from about 2013 till about 2017, especially when I was in big league camp, especially when I was in the big leagues. And I'll never forget, after I made it to the big leagues for the first time in 2015, I then signed with the Kansas City Royals. And when I go to the Kansas City Royals, I am in the clubhouse with the defending World Series champion Kansas City Royals. And I'll never forget it. We had a big meeting with Tony Clark where he goes on and on and on. And the biggest fear that they had at the time, and he was not quiet about it, was wearable technology. We need to keep wearable technology off of every single one of you guys, because the teams are trying to sneak wearable technology on you. And here was the reason why. And it's actually a reasonable reason. They firmly believed, and they were right, by the way, that they were trying to monitor players' biometrics so they can harm them in specifically arbitration. Oh, then all of a sudden you started seeing media members start using phrases that never existed. Oh, he's a low heart rate guy. Low heart rate guy is not a sentence that's ever been uttered out loud. And all of a sudden I had every Major League Baseball broadcaster yelling it out during the World Series. Oh yeah, you want a low heart rate guy. I'm like, they're trying to get out verbiage through the press that they want to check our heart rates. And that is not a joke. That's what they were trying to do. It didn't work. Thank God. But then the conversation turned from, keeping our biometrics out of the hands of our organizations, and it switched to, and also we got to make sure that guys like Moustakas and Hosmer are getting paid comparable for signing all these autographs and this and that. And I'm just sitting here, and they're only naming stars and what the stars need to do to get compensated. And I'm sitting here going like, I just grinded my ass for 7 years. I broke every record available to me to get to the big leagues, and I barely played when they called me up. I'm in the big leagues right now with Kansas City, and my job is not guaranteed. My contract isn't guaranteed, and I'm currently in the Major League Baseball union. And I'm starting to think, while he's sitting here talking about all these guys who are under these guaranteed massive contracts, all I can think of, dude, there is, in this room of 45 players, there is literally 25 that desperately need your help. And then I'm thinking over there in the other locker room, there's a room of 200 minor leaguers that are all being paid at poverty level. Trust me, I was one of them. My 7th season was the first time I saw a comma in my paycheck. I was 28 years old. I was getting paid $1,100.38 after every 2 weeks. I still had rent to pay at home. I had bills to pay. I was basically living out of my car so I can play professional baseball. And I'll never forget it. After the meeting, I just went up to Tony Clark and I was like, dude, most of that meeting was bullshit. What are you talking about? I don't care about how much Mike is being compensated on his autographs. I need your help. My money's not guaranteed. Like, I'm in the players union. I paid those dues both literally and figuratively. When are you going to protect a guy like me? And when I say a guy like me, I was talking about taxi squad guys, extended roster guys that are in the big leagues but are seemingly unprotected. And then, God forbid, we look out for the fucking minor leaguers who are all living on poverty level outside of the bonus babies. And I'll never forget what Tony said to me. He looked me dead in the eye and he just said, well, Deck, you got to understand, you were never supposed to make it. And that was his direct quote from everything I said to him. Deck, you got to understand, you were never supposed to make it. And I looked at him puzzled for about 5 seconds. And I just said, what question do you think I asked you? Because that might have been an answer to a question, just sure as shit, not the one I just asked you. Your answer is I never should have made it. I did make it. And your answer is I shouldn't have. And he's like, well, no, Deck, no. Like, it's just not in the cards for us. We have other things we got to focus on. I'm like, the majority of your players are having financial issues. And you're telling me we need to get Mike Moustakas and Hosmer more money to sign a bat. Your priorities are broken. And that was the moment I lost all faith, not necessarily in Tony Clark, but in the players union as a whole. I understand that the guys with the highest salaries are going to pay the highest amount of money to said thing. But wouldn't you want to lift all of the boats with a rising tide? Wouldn't you want all the guys get paid so the Players Association can take a bigger chunk out of my paycheck? That makes more sense to me, but it didn't apparently to Tony Clark at the time. Now, lots have changed. Lots of things have happened since then. Minor league pay has gone up. It's still not at the level it should be, but it's definitely better. Definitely better. A lot of players' housings are starting to be taken care of by organizations. Their food and meals are being so things have definitely gotten better. But when he said that to me, I couldn't believe the words that was coming out of his mouth, because that to me screams this union makes no sense. If this union is not about protecting the players, then tell me what the fuck it's for.
Exactly. No, that's real fucked up that he said that. I don't have a better term than that, other than that's fucked up that he said that. And when you think about it, nobody's supposed to make it. Like, we've seen number 1 overall picks, unfortunately. We've seen a lot of top 5, top 10 picks, first round picks who don't make it. They might get to the majors, but when we talk about make it, I think he was talking about being successful in the major leagues. It's almost impossible. And this was what brings me back to what Tony is accused of before we can get to possible replacements. If he took one extra dime, now obviously there's different funds and he got a salary. And if this is money that was offered to, maybe it was supposed to go to another suit, not right, still criminal. But if that's a dime of money that was supposed to go to a player who very well may go a year with no salary, and your salary was terrible, you mentioned that. But imagine going from that little bit you had to zero, to literally nothing. If he took a dime of that, then he's gone not a day too soon. Like, he has to be out, and he needs to be prosecuted for it. Now, I don't care about, I'm numb to rich people stealing from other rich people, and rich people, hell, stealing from poor people. I'm almost numb to it. But in this case, knowing the stakes and knowing the timing, and me speaking about it from a different perspective as a pure fan who goes to, because of my job, to the second game of the season every single year, because opening day I always have to work. So that second year, because you start that Thursday, you're off that Friday for whatever reason, in case it's rain. That Saturday, I go for the last 15 years. Every single time they're home, that's my game. And to think I'm going to have a year where that's not my game, I go to other games, but that game I must go to. I must go to that game. And to think that that's going to get taken away from me and so many other fans, right when pace of play has gotten kids back involved in the game, and all these good things that have happened, something that I guess is good that happened under his watch, if you want to look at it that way, to think that he even took a penny that could go to the guys to have that fight, which is going to be necessary for the preservation of the game that we love, I just hate it. And then adding that makes me hate it even more.
Yeah, it's ugly, because you're right, dude. That's the other thing. Baseball's having a fucking moment here. Baseball has never been better. Baseball's never made more money. Baseball's not had more eyeballs on it since the 80s, dude. And in today's digital age, having the amount of eyeballs on a World Series game that you had in the 80s, when we had 6 channels at the time, I don't know what to tell you other than this is astonishing. And it's crazy that the owners are willing to eat themselves just so they can get a cap in here. And I understand there's obviously long-term investments that they can be making this, but look at the Dodgers. They made $1 billion in revenue last year. In revenue. That means Ohtani, Yamamoto, those 2 contracts have been paid off in less than 2 years, and they have 20 years to pay it off.
Right. Exactly. So this is why this is such a big deal. And I think, and I appreciate us and you getting into the minutia a little bit so that we understand what's ahead. Because a lot of people are just thinking about, hey, spring training just started on this weekend. A lot of local markets are going to have some baseball on as the games start. And I get it. And we love it. But you can't only think about the here and now when we're talking about this, because those that go to spring training, that's your yearly pilgrimage. I used to love going down. I'm a Phillies fan, obviously. I got the hoodie on today. Going down to Clearwater to watch games, that's my yearly thing. This all could go away so quickly. And then we've seen, once it goes away, it takes a while to get the people back. And you can say it doesn't. It does. There's always something else. There's always something else. And if we go a year without baseball, and I think we're about to have another big year with the pace of play and all these good things, if the sport was to go away, are you kidding me? I need the players to be good, and I need that thing to be negotiated competently, because I don't want to miss games. So this is a huge thing right now if you love the game of baseball.
Completely. And I'm dreading the potential work stoppage, but I'm glad. Get really quick. I'd love your take on this, because you mentioned 94 when we had the strike. And here's the thing. It took a couple of years to get baseball, quote unquote, back. And when I say back, I mean, get the asses in the seats. You mentioned Cal Ripken, the home run race between McGuire and Sosa, even though they've been ousted for seemingly saving the goddamn game.
Saving the sport.
But, whatever. But whatever. We'll all just go fuck ourselves. It's wild to me that Major League Baseball has such apparently, especially the owners, and I understand a lot of these owners weren't owning teams at the time, but that's a real short memory. Here's the only difference that I think could be a saving grace if there were a work stoppage that could leak into the season next year. The only saving grace. Last go around, the strike happened, and a lot of the fans turned on the players. The players were ousted by the fans because the narrative was working at the time. These greedy players, these greedy players.
Yeah.
I firmly believe, and I'm only using the previous CBA as an example, I firmly believe fans have smartened up finally a little bit. They're starting to realize, wait a second, how much is $1 billion compared to $1 million? Oh shit. We're mad at the wrong fucking people, aren't we?
Yes.
So I'm hoping that this backlash will fall on the owners very harshly. The only problem is, and this is what I've been talking about with my theory about how the Players Association is not going to be villainized. The Dodgers are going to be villainized, and no one can compete with the Dodgers, yada, yada, yada. They can. They absolutely can. They're just choosing not to, because now you have a pay dispute, because now one team has all the money and all the other teams can't compete. They can. They absolutely can. It's just, I'm worried still that somehow the fans will be duped into turning on the players again. I don't think it's going to happen, because I think people have smartened up a little bit. Last CBA, they tried the old shit. They tried the players are greedy, but people really did smarten up. I'm hoping we can maintain that. We have enough voices out there that are trying to explain to you, no. Always remember this. Always. Those of you who have never really thought about the difference between $1 million and $1 billion, here it is. 1 million seconds is 11.7 days. 1 billion seconds is 36 years.
Yeah. And that's a real thing. And then, and for people that also, because I'm guaranteed there's somebody in the chat right now. If not, somebody's going to watch it a little bit later on and say, oh, the greedy players are, they're still rich. Understand this. Remember, a billion's 1,000 million. But separate from all of that, why is it you're out there in Los Angeles? I'm in the Philly, New York area right now. So, but it applies to all the teams. Why are the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Mets, and the Yankees all writing a check to Pittsburgh for them to then not spend it on players? That's what they have to get in order. Please, just so you understand, for those that may not know, and I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, but just in case someone doesn't know, every year, LA, Philly, both New York teams, because of the way they have it set up, because they actually spend money, they have to share some of their profits with Pittsburgh, with Tampa, and the team at Kansas City. At times, Kansas City has spent some years, Kansas City has not spent some years. But those teams collect money, and they're supposed to. It's written they're supposed to then spend that money on players. In Pittsburgh's case, they put it in their pockets, and one year they got the revenue check, the largest one they got to that point, and cut their payroll. They didn't even stay flat. They cut the payroll. So that's the first thing the owners need to address before they say a word to the players, figure out their own business, and explain why the owners that are trying to win, Seattle, LA, hell, Anaheim, they spent it poorly, but they spent for years and years and years.
They did spend.
They spent for years and years and years. The Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, the teams that you're hearing in the playoffs basically every year outside of maybe Cleveland, why are all of them writing checks to other owners, and those owners then aren't spending it to try to win?
Yeah. Completely agree. And that's where the conversation is. The fact that anyone wants to say salary cap is insane to me. Unless you start the conversation with salary floor, I don't want to hear shit from any of you.
Right. You're absolutely right. Like, we cannot live in a world where there are 2 players on the Phillies, 2 players on the Dodgers, 2 players on the Mets, the Yankees, etc., Seattle, making more than the entire Pirates roster. And we already know Skeens is out of there. Skeens is the most exciting pitcher we've seen since arguably Fernando Valenzuela, if you go look up, like that kind of phenom. And we know for a fact he's not going to stay in Pittsburgh. We already know. And yet the Yankees are saying, here's some Skeens money. The Mets, here's some Skeens money. The Dodgers, here's some Skeens money for you to pay them. And they're not going to do it.
Nope. Because Mike Nutting, who is worth, and this is true, over $2.2 billion, doesn't want to spend any of it on the team in Pittsburgh, which is a shame, because that is a fan base that deserves a winner. They have arguably the sweetest stadium in Major League Baseball that no one gets to see past September.
I mean, to think, and this has been going on, that's why I feel for Pittsburgh viewers that we have are listening right now, because they already had Van Slyke, Bonilla, and Bonds at the same time and paid none of them.
Yep.
This
Bonds
goes
goes
back
to San
30
Francisco. Yeah.
Bonilla
Bonds goes
to
to San
Mets.
Francisco and
Right.
signs a record deal. Like,
Right. Like this has been happening for 30 years. And yet the first thing they want to do is go, hey, players, you make less. Not us not wanting to pay. We're not the problem. You guys should make less. And that's the part where if you look at it like it's Amazon and the drivers are driving around and we know how much money Bezos has, if Bezos' answer was to call Walmart and to call other company, call Target, hey guys, what we got to do is we have to pay our employees less. You guys would lose your minds. That's basically what baseball's doing.
yeah, and keep in mind, and listen, I'm not sitting here saying that Major League Baseball players, when they're in the big leagues, don't make a great living. They do. But you have to understand, there's only been in the history of Major League Baseball less than 22,000 players to ever step 1 foot on a Major League diamond for one pitch. That means one pitch thrown or one pitch swung at and seen. That's less than the ground level of Dodger Stadium. So let's be real clear. Those of you that are saying greedy players, there aren't that many players to begin with. I can't stress that enough. And the window is very, very, very short. So listen, a lot to happen, but real quick, I do want to touch on the potential replacements. There is a name you may have heard, Bruce Meyer. However, there is a little bit of an issue around Bruce Meyer. Not that he's not qualified. He absolutely is. The case for him is that he's been a union primary negotiator since 2018 and led the charge of the 99-day lockout that did take place. But he also has been a proponent for the minor leaguers and helped get that going. The only problem with him taking the job, he was nearly ousted for some sort of like mutiny by some players a couple of years ago because they didn't want him to be handling it. Although he is the type of attorney you probably do want handling it because he's kind of a cutthroat attorney. And there's Harry Marino, who is an ex-minor league player who also a lot of players are clamoring for. But we will keep you updated on this story. We'll keep you updated on what happens with Tony Clark and the resignation. And man, this is a story that will likely only get deeper as time goes forward. So we will keep you updated. All right, man. Well, listen, we got no Shane today, but you got me and Tyrone. So let's just go ahead and do Shane's quick hitters. Tyrone, question number 1 for you, my guy. You're stuck on a desert island, and you can have one band there perform for you daily. Who do you take on the island with you as your desert island companion that have to perform for you?
Oh, this is great. The most underrated band and the greatest rock band in the history of rock and roll, Queens of the Stone Age. That's who I bring. They are incredible. They're awesome. They're the best band, better than the Beatles, better than Zeppelin, better than everybody. They don't have a bad album. Nay, they don't have a bad song. There is no doubt, no question about it. My number one choice for a band that exists today would be Queens of the Stone Age. I have other options if we were doing all time that perhaps could be behind them, but it's definitely Queens of the Stone Age.
Wow. I will freely admit that never even came to my mind. That being said, I got to tell you this, dude. I have been really getting into desert sessions lately, and I don't know if you've been checking that. Dude, I love me some Queens of the Stone Age. I'll never forget it when, what was the album where Dave Grohl was drumming on it? Oh, Songs for the Deaf. That came out when I was in high school.
Deaf, yeah.
I could sit down and listen to that album any fucking day. It's a jam from start to finish. Chad really wants to see Destiny's Child on an island. I guess I understand that for reasons that are not musical as well.
I can see that. Well, when you said band, I was thinking instruments.
Fair.
I look at them more as a group. So, let's say you love Boys II Men. That doesn't count as a band because they didn't really play the instruments on the album. Like Earth, Wind, and Fire would count as a band, for example. So it's not a racial thing because they did play the instruments. So that's when you say band, I think instruments, and that's why I made my choice.
Okay. Best sports movie of all time.
Okay. Now this one's tough. All right, I have to go with the first one that I thought about. It's not Rocky. It is Above the Rim. It's Above the Rim. And I'll tell you why it's Above the Rim. Tupac, okay? Tupac is in it as the villain. My man comes out the custodian in the corduroys, throws the jersey off and with the work clothes on and starts putting in that work in Above the Rim. Above the Rim, the greatest sports movie of all time.
Wow.
Quick hitter. I didn't have time. I didn't know that was coming.
Wow. I will freely admit Above the Rim was not on my fucking bingo card today, so I just appreciate the deep cut, by the way. I mean, I'll freely admit Above the Rim won't even be like in my top 3 of basketball movies. You know what's weird? When I think of basketball movies, I know a lot of people think Hoosiers. I fucking hate Hoosiers. I think it's
hate
a shit
Hoosiers.
movie.
I hate
it's an
that
awful movie.
Yeah. You know what? The late Gene Hackman, right? A great actor and all that stuff. He was an asshole the whole time to the players, the whole time. He was an asshole the whole time. Like, that doesn't work.
I will
remember the Titans. Are you thinking?
Remember the Titans? I can watch anytime. Fucking Ryan Hurst is Gary Bertier. Fucking the speech that Denzel gives when he's talking about they will run a mile. You drop a pass, you run a mile. You miss a block, you run a mile. You fumble the ball, I'll break my foot off on your John Brown hind parts, and then you will run a mile. Perfection, gentlemen. I'm like, shit, he's good.
Yeah,
this guy can act.
Tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And then you have, as far as just one scene, though, you brought up a speech, Pacino's in Any Given Sunday. We talk about every inch in there. That was tremendous at the end. Now, not a perfect movie, but that speech by Pacino, woo!
I'll go a step further. It's a bad movie, except for that speech, because that speech is so electric. How electric is it? This is true, Tyrone. You didn't know this about me. I performed that speech for my team before every game between 2014 and 15. We had a list of songs we listened to in the clubhouse, and the middle one was that speech where I got it. We played it up on the ground speaker, and I would sit there and perform it for the entire group, 1 inch at a time.
Yes.
I've made every mistake a grown man can make.
Yes, I love it. And real fast, shout out, rest in peace to James Vanderbeek as Mox in Varsity Blues. The ball doesn't touch the ground. How good is Paul Walker's character if Mox is the backup? Mox is accurate as hell back there, slinging it. Ball doesn't touch the ground. Mox is so legit.
Mox, dude, I fucking love Varsity Blues. It's so cheesy. It's so 90s. It's so fucking unrealistic. And I can't get enough of that fucking movie.
You mean when you were in high school, you didn't go to the strip club and then leave when it was daylight when you were
No, I missed that day of school. And I sure as shit didn't see my history teacher there fucking dancing for us or anything like that. Let alone having beers with her after the fucking performance. Like all of these things landing so many people in fucking jail.
Right. And like that was wild stuff. Wild stuff. Yeah.
What is the best performance in a movie by a non-actor, in your opinion?
By a non-actor.
By the way, they could have become an actor after the fact, but at the time, they were maybe not an actor. Because I got one that I think will surprise you, but maybe not surprise you, because you already mentioned the movie.
Not an actor at all. Oh, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know non-actor. I don't know it. Like, it's not that I'm dodging it. Yeah.
Oh, no. It's a tricky one. Here's mine. Former Raiders linebacker Carl Weathers in the original Rocky, which launched the career of Carl Weathers. My biggest gripe with Carl Weathers' career is that we didn't get more of him.
Yeah, no, he was tremendous. Yeah, because he was a Raiders player, a football player who ends up getting that role, and he was truly tremendous. Had a legendary career that could have should have went longer. The most unrealistic thing in movie history, still to me, and this includes like Fast and the Furious going to space, is Rocky outrunning him on the beach.
That shit didn't happen.
Get the hell out of here.
I see both your bodies. Hey, I get it. You're in shape, Sly. You're in shape, but you ain't fucking Carl Weathers. Like, get out of Dodge, bro.
Carl Weathers played for the Raiders. Not a long career, but he was a good enough athlete to make the NFL. And you are a weightlifter. Like, that's all I can do. And you're 5'6". Yet you're outrunning him. Like, get the hell out of here. I'm trying to think of any other non-actors.
Ooh, here's a good one. Kevin Garnett in Uncut Gems. Kevin Garnett was pretty damn good in that, I thought.
Yeah, no, he was really good. He was really good in that. How about Lance Armstrong in dodgeball?
Dodgeball.
When he gives the speech.
He was great at that.
And he talks about
what?
everything that he overcame. And he goes,
Yeah.
well, I'm sure you have a good reason to be missing. After
Yeah.
he says, I overcame cancer, stage 4 cancer. I did this and went on to win the Tour de France 7 times. But I'm sure you have a good reason for not playing your little dodgeball match.
I think we all agree that scene might not have aged as good as we remembered it at the time.
No, it didn't age well at all. But he was really good, and I laughed when he delivered that dodgeball.
It was good stuff. Good stuff. All right, that's it for Shane's quick hitters. Let's get over to the world of the NBA, because it is being reported, despite all of the smoke around it and all the smoke around LeBron potentially leaving, and you're hearing LeBron to the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron to retire. LeBron ain't retiring. Let's be real clear. LeBron will retire when his 2-year farewell tour comes to an end. And it hasn't begun yet. So no way in the world we're going to just announce the retirement now and only get, a month and a half of his farewell tour. He's getting a prize or a gift from every stadium he goes to forever until he shuts it down. That being said, LA says they might want some more LeBron back next year. But my question for you is, the only way to me this happens if LeBron takes a pay cut. So if anything else, are we going to see a world where LeBron James takes a pay cut next season?
I think you do. And the reason I think he takes the pay cut is I believe that he's going to attempt to do something that Kobe couldn't do and a lot of other players couldn't do and try to win. That doesn't mean he'll succeed, but I think he's going to try to win on the way out. Usually these plans retirements, I remember as a little kid, Dr. J's retirement with the Sixers, he had a bit of a tour. They didn't have a chance to win. And the only way the Lakers truly have a chance to win, assuming he stays, or if he goes anywhere else, he has to take less money. Because if he was to get ring number 5 and tie Magic and Kobe and get ring 5 and retire and contribute, it wouldn't, for some people, nothing's going to pass Jordan, but that would be something that Jordan and no one else would be able to do. So even if it's for selfish reasons in a way, I'd be shocked if he didn't take a pay cut next year.
Yeah, I would agree. And then that, by the way, I'm not only saying that for LA. If he goes to Cleveland, I'd be shocked if he doesn't take a pay cut. That being said, if you were to guess right now where he's going next year, where would you choose? I have my reasoning for choosing mine, and I would love your reasoning for what team you think he would end up on next year.
Well, I think it can only be 3 places because he learned what happened with his wife. If she's not happy with where they go, she'll stay home. The first year in Miami, she stayed in Ohio. So that means it can only be the Lakers where they are now, obviously Cleveland, which is home, or Miami, which she eventually did enjoy, and they kept the home because why would you get rid of the home and things like that? So it could be only one of those 3 teams. Depending on James Harden, that's my issue. I'm going to say the Lakers because of the James Harden factor. James Harden likes having the ball a lot. LeBron wants the ball sometimes. You're not going to have the ball sometimes if James Harden is there. So that's why for now, I'll say the Lakers.
I'm also going to say the Lakers, but I'm going to say it for more of how do I put it? More of a LeBron, maybe selfish reason. And when I say selfish, that's probably a gross over exaggeration. But if he's going to have to take a pay cut next year, what city will he make the most money in?
Oh, well, LA with
LA,
all the other stuff. Unless he was going to go to the Knicks. That's the only one that could.
Unless he was going to go to the Knicks. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But I don't see a world where he's going to the Knicks. So I see him in LA. The guy's got production companies. The guy's doing so many things off the court. And all of those are built around LA to the point where I'm pretty sure his net worth since just coming to the Lakers probably increased by at least 35 to 40%.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And the other part is the Lakers, it behooves them to have LeBron there as well because they know what if they announce, I know you said 2 years, 1 more year for LeBron. They already sell out as it is. But then imagine all the auxiliary income. You could do all kinds of things. You could have LeBron show up to LA Live for 10 seconds and probably make another 10 million. Like literally, like there's so much extra money to be made there. So it just makes a lot of sense. And I think the pay cut will make sense because then you can start to build around Luka properly, something they have not yet been able to do.
And, maybe a center or maybe anyone that can play defense anywhere in the league. Just give me anyone that can play defense for this team.
Right. And catch an alley-oop from them. And catch it. So you need a rim runner and a little defense. And then already even if you're behind the Spurs at OKC, you likely can beat everybody else. And that puts you in the mix. And I think that's the best path realistically for the Lakers on the court as well.
Yeah. Well, also staying in the realm of NBA, listen, we saw last week during the week of the All-Star game and all of the things we saw Commissioner Silver out there talking about we got to battle tanking. And we already saw in the last couple of weeks fining over $500,000 to teams for their egregious and gross tanking, even though one of those teams was the Pacers and they won that game, which I found really fascinating. They got fined $500,000. Utah fined another $100,000 for tanking. But here's the thing, and I do want to bring this kind of full circle real quick because his comments do make sense in that they need to battle tanking. I agree. What I don't agree with, and we did touch on this yesterday, and I would love your opinion, is simply this. How do you battle it? And here is the way I want to frame this. We just finished talking about a salary cap coming to Major League Baseball, or at least the attempt. Do you not look at the NBA the way I do, saying the reason we're in this issue is because it's a salary cap league, because the only recourse to actually build a roster is sadly to tank. And if your idea right out the gate is abolish the draft to create a full free agency frenzy, that sounds like the letting the toothpaste out of the bottle type of NIL type of thinking.
Yeah, that goes too far. What you could do is you have to make it perhaps harder to get that first pick, or maybe a mechanism to get that first pick that's not just being bad. You see, going into that lottery, what if they made a rule, for example, that no one can pick in the top 5 2 years in a row, but anybody but the teams in the conference finals go into that lottery? So now rather than 14 teams are in the lottery, then there's 30 teams, so 26 are in the lottery. So a team like the Sixers, for example, only because where I am. But let's say the Knicks were to lose in the second round to the Celtics. The Knicks could then hypothetically be in that lottery. All of a sudden, the tanking thing, it really doesn't make sense. The other part is, as fans, and I never want to battle fans, and I love the fans, and I'm one of them. I like to think of myself always as a fan. We're assholes, and I'll explain what I mean. Why we're assholes. We, the collective we, we're assholes. Okay, I'll tell you why. Charles Barkley, in real time, I remember he was my first favorite player growing up in the Philly area. He's on the Sixers. I'm a kid. I remember when he went to the Suns for I was mad at them the whole summer before he goes to the Phoenix Suns and moves on. Okay.
You think you're a Charles Barkley fan?
There it is.
You bet your ass I'm a Sir Charles man, my man.
Right. He didn't win a championship. And no one called him a loser and a piece of shit. Westbrook's on the Kings. The Kings stink, right? Westbrook has averaged a triple-double. By every metric, that guy has won. Yet there are fans that hate his guts. Karl Malone, a wretched guy. But they didn't even hate him for that. Like a wretched guy.
No, they hate him because he didn't win a title, not for the terrible shit he did off the court.
Right. But now it's to the point where if you don't win a championship, you're just garbage. Like LeBron in all those finals with sometimes under-talented teams. Oh, you suck. You got to do this. I've talked to people who have said that Montana's still ahead of Brady because Brady lost Super Bowls. I was like, yeah, but what about all those years where Montana didn't make the Super Bowl, when he lost to the Giants, when he lost to Washington, when he lost before he got there? And somehow they're saying it's better to not make a Super Bowl than to lose a Super Bowl. We have our minds, and I'm saying the collective we. I'm a part of it. You're a part of it. We're all a part of it. If we stop acting like assholes and our team winning 50 games in the NBA and not winning a championship doesn't make them pieces of shit, then that's another reason. Because what you get is you get these teams that are good, like Indiana Pacers were for a lot of years with Reggie Miller. And that was fine for Pacers fans. They wanted to win a title, but they didn't call Reggie Miller a piece of garbage because he didn't beat Michael Jordan. And if he was playing today, he would be. And that's something we all could do a better job of. We obviously want championships, and we have to demand excellence. But we don't have to go with the inverse of not winning a title is a person's a piece of shit. And that's what we do too often.
Yeah. And dude, it's wild that we do. Because is Dan Marino a terrible quarterback because he didn't win a title?
No.
That's insane.
Right.
Phillip Rivers just had a comeback. Was he dog shit because he didn't win a title? No, he was just a Charger.
Right. But when we get to that point and it becomes all or nothing, well, then the teams start to treat it as all or nothing. Because if the only thing that's going to make you not happy, because we know a title is extremely important, but if it's title or bust literally and not figuratively, well, why don't I tank? Because my only path to get the title that you say is the only thing that matters, literally, is to be so bad that I get the generational player. And that's the part that I think we can all make a little adjustment on, just a small adjustment, and say, yes, we demand winning. Yes, we fire coaches. Yes, we make trades. But you're not a piece of shit if you don't win a championship.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, on the tanking thing, Mark Cuban kind of came out with it. He said the NBA should worry more about fan experience than tanking. Listen, I do agree and disagree at the same time. Because listen, are we going to pretend? I'm not going to pretend tanking ain't a problem. I'm not going to pretend the concept of load management or the fact that the Lakers went in to play like the Spurs and sat everybody, or playing against the OKC Thunder and sitting these are legitimate problems because you got a lot of fans showing up to the court that want to see the stars play, and they're obviously not playing. And then you go to a team like a Utah or a Pacers. Now, the Pacers, I think, are a very unique situation. The fact they were just in a title and they lost arguably, one of the best players in the NBA for the next season. Obviously, they're going to try and tank. I think it's almost, what recourse does a team have to get better outside of tanking? I just hate to say it, but it's just a sad reality.
Yeah, and by putting this new second apron thing, that basically, we saw it at the trade deadline just a week ago, that acted as a hard cap. It basically acted like a hard cap in a sport that wasn't supposed to have a hard cap. So the answer would be, oh, you trade for players and you just pay them. Well, now it's become so punitive to do that, it's really your only recourse. And as far as fan experience, what I do think needs to happen, though, is if you're going to go about it, you have to be more strategic about it. Meaning, if you sat him against the Spurs this time, for example, and the load management also comes from, if you don't win a championship, you're garbage. There used to be, wow, that guy played all 82 games. He was a warrior for us. It stinks he came up short. Now it's like, you look at Russell Westbrook. He played 82 games a lot of times, and fans do not like him. And like, he's never been arrested. He's never been, like, fans do not like him. He's just the most in-your-face example of the modern situation. You can't, the next time you got to make sure everybody, when you play the Spurs, you have to make sure everybody sees it. And you have to also split some of those home games where they get 41 opportunities to see. But when the Lakers play the Hawks, the Lakers play there one time. They need to be playing against the Hawks, and they can miss the Hawks game at home if you're going to miss one. And I think that would enhance that fan experience. But if you're a Hawks fan and you see, Giannis coming to town, okay, he comes in regularly. But when Kevin Durant comes in Houston, you only get one shot. He needs to be playing that game.
Yeah. And by the way, I do appreciate Jeets22 for this. Just for the record, the Kings aren't tanking. They just suck. It is sad because I really enjoyed that Light the Beams season 3 years ago. Man, I was on board with the Sacramento Kings. I'm like, oh fuck, Sacktown is the shit all of a sudden. And man, that fizzled out about as fast as humanly possible, unfortunately. But what do you say we get away from basketball real quick? Because I definitely want to talk to you about this. Netflix is trying very hard to get in the sports game. And I will freely admit, I have liked zero of what they have produced thus far. We've had 2 Jake Paul fights. I couldn't give less a shit about either of them because I don't know what to tell you other than look up what a work fight is and then get mad. Because that's what we were forced to watch. And then, of course, the NFL holiday editions, I really thought were misses as well. I just didn't like the production of it all that much.
I liked year one with the Beyonce concert, the halftime of the Houston
I didn't
game.
mind that. The Beyonce concert was the highlight of the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind the football that much. And the Katie Taylor, Serrano fights on the undercards of the Jake Paul, I did enjoy those fights, the women's boxing matches, which were real and for a title. The main events, I have nothing for those. Jake Paul, to me, I just don't like him. I don't need to get into it too much.
No, I can't stand him. And I as much as people want to tell me the good he's done for boxing, I can quadruple it with the bad he has done for boxing.
Yes.
That being said, Ronda Rousey coming out of retirement of the MMA world to take on Gina Carino. And boy, oh boy, this is the fight we've all been dreaming of if this was 2009.
Yeah. Now, Okay, a couple layers to this. Gina Carano was a good fighter in Strikeforce. I remember her. She got into the UFC. Chris Cyborg quickly dispatched her in the first round.
Quickly.
And she went to do movies and stuff. Ronda Rousey, we know she was there. We saw what happened with Holly Holm and the terrible team that she had. But I will say this. This fight, no interest in. It's free. If I'm free that Saturday, would I perhaps turn it on? Probably, because I know both of their names. And I would imagine they'll put some form of an undercard of some kind. They're not just going to have one fight on the card. And there are MMA fights to be made. My issue, this is where I think this could be a good thing.
Let's hear it.
The UFC has a problem right now. And anybody in the chat, if you're a diehard, then ignore. But if you're not a diehard, who is your favorite active UFC fighter? So you can't type Conor McGregor and you can't type John Jones. And you obviously can't type Ronda Rousey. So if you're not a diehard fan, who is your favorite UFC fighter currently, right? And I'm not saying they don't have great fighters. They do, but they're no longer household names. UFC has stopped making stars. Ronda Rousey, for all her problems, is still a star. Completely. I want this fight to be successful for one reason, and only one reason, so that the UFC becomes aware again that you can't just put fights on and have us watch it. Part of why we watch is the stars. People watch Mayweather, even if they thought it was boring, hoping the other guy would beat him. For years, people wanted Ali, due to Vietnam or whatever reason, to lose, and they watched hoping he lose, but he was a star. The UFC does not make stars. If this forces the UFC to invest in a fighter who can speak and cut a promo, more or less, and get us interested in the game, it's a good thing, because at the end of the day, all this fight is to me is just two women who we've heard of. It's not a title fight. It's not necessarily going to be a competitive fight, although it might be. I mean, they might be rusty to where it can end up being entertaining, in that if you take a 40-year-old Willie Mays with the Mets, but you had him pitching against a guy who was also 40, might be a fun at bat. Like, I hope it's more like that and not against a 20-year-old. But if this does well, it might force the UFC to do something for us, and that's build stars and not just make cards and say you'll like it because we said so.
You're absolutely right. The UFC has not made stars in a while. And I'll even say this. I know UFC's made a lot of money, especially with that Paramount Plus deal that the Ellisons just opened up the checkbook for. And you can make the argument that it is possibly more accessible to casual fans just if they have Paramount Plus. But I honestly think that was a massive misstep. And I'll tell you why. Just from an optics purpose, it makes it seem non-important to me because it's just readily available on Paramount Plus. Not to mention the product not building stars for the last decade. Not to mention, I feel like the UFC is now, and those of you, listen, I'm not saying that it's just an ultra right-wing thing, but it really has been commandeered by a certain grouping of people to the point where it's almost exclusively for them now. And that is a very weird place to be if you're trying to expand as a company.
You know, that's a great point. Now, I can make the argument that the ESPN Plus tier also wasn't great for fans. If you sign up, you would get one fight and you have to pay for more. For me, the issue is they did the Paramount deal without a guarantee of a super fight. And there's a super fight to be made. The UFC doesn't want to. Francis Ngannou is more of a household name than basically any other heavyweight not named John 100%. Jones. 100%. You can make the Ngannou-John Jones fight, and they're choosing not to. You pay John Jones the money, you pay Ngannou who's available, and you make that fight. But they're deciding not to make that fight, basically because they said so. Because they're mad at Ngannou asked for too much money. We all ask for too much money at the end of the day. I'm sorry. All of us do. Whether you're a person who makes a job that you, quote, deserve $50,000 and you ask for $60,000, or you're a fighter who makes $5 million and you ask for $10 million. We all end up asking for more money. You're supposed to ask for more money. This is America. But the fact that they'll let that fight that people would watch, and I would be interested in fighting, and more people know who those guys are than any of the other heavyweights, the fact that they're not making that fight tells me all I need to know. They don't care about us at all. And if there's a chance that John Jones could get out of UFC and fight Gatto on Netflix, then I'm all for it because I want to see the fight. So
Mhm.
maybe this deal makes those fights possible where there's another place for him to do it. And that to me is the only reason I'm okay with it. The only reason.
Yeah, because keep in mind, the UFC, they don't have any type of thing. They don't have, let's say, what like Major League Baseball does. And Major League Baseball, in case you know, they're not subject to any antitrust. That's why there
Right.
isn't a baseball competitor in the United States for Major League Baseball.
Mhm.
Legally, there really can't be one.
Right. Right. So we've had companies. Strikeforce was there; they bought it, and then they've had the PFL and all these other leagues, Bellator. They've had different things. So if this forces us fans to get household names in fights, to me it's
Mhm.
worth it. To me, it's
I
worth
agree.
it because the UFC just refuses.
And the UFC sure as shit ain't going to be able to buy Netflix. So I feel pretty confident they will not be able to acquire this competition. But
Exactly.
let's move it over real quick before we shut it down. Let's do some shiggles, my guy. All right, man. Listen, my shiggle is very, very specific. I said it to you before the show, and there was a trailer released today. I haven't watched the new trailer, but I did watch the first trailer they did release, and it was a short trailer, not much to it. And it's simply this: the Mandalorian and Grogu is coming out.
Yeah.
I wish they gave it a slightly better title. I would have just liked more of the Mandalorian for that matter. But that's beside the point. My point is this: I'm a diehard Star Wars guy. Anything nerdy, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, you name it. I'm a fan of it, except for weirdly Harry Potter. Never really got into the Harry Potter stuff.
I mean, either.
Yeah, it's the one little blind spot I've seen the movies. They're fine. I don't love them.
Mhm.
But Star Wars, like a lot of people, was my gateway drug. It was my gateway drug into astronomy, into science. It was my gateway drug into all things nerddom. It was my borderline a gateway drug into like cinema itself and my love of cinema that I've acquired over a very, what seems like 400-year life. But I have to say, I'm not one of those guys that's been anti the Disney run of Star Wars because the Disney run of Star Wars has given us some legitimate gold.
Mhm.
The Last Jedi, those of you that hate that movie, I don't understand that. I thought that movie subverted every expectation and opened the universe up so much bigger. That's why I hated the Rise of Skywalker so much, because it just basically turned the page and shat on everything it just opened it up to,
Yeah.
and it made it feel smaller and worse.
Mhm.
The show Andor is maybe the best achievement they've ever done as far as Star Wars goes. But man, the Mandalorian kind of fell off for me.
So hold on. Hold on. So basically, you're saying that everything's awesome, and that's your shiggle is that everything with Star Wars is awesome because it sounds like you're being very positive. So this is great. Great.
I gave you 2 examples of the 30 examples that exist in the past 10 years because The Mandalorian, as good as it was in season 1, fell off real fast in season 2. Ahsoka, fine. Obi-Wan, I wanted it to be so much better.
Oh, no, it didn't work out.
The sequel trilogy, which I thought started great, really fizzled out in a way that you can't even begin to fathom. The Solo movie was a train wreck. I don't know what to say other than this seems like a directionless boat at the moment. Now, keep in mind, Kathleen Kennedy just stepped down as the CEO of Lucasfilm, so they have a new one in there. My problem is simply this. I think Star Wars needs to take a break for a while. I need my heart to grow fonder of the Star Wars universe because I really just flat out don't like what they're doing. I know they're trying to build up to this Heir of the Empire movie, and I there's been too much shit. And I just, the Acolyte was unwatchable. I don't know what to say other than I really think we just need to take a break and maybe reassess this in 5 to 10 years.
All right. I can't really argue, but theme parks. This is the situation.
Yeah.
Universal Studios coming out with that new whatever world that they came out with down in Florida has shaken up Disney. So they need more stuff. And for that reason, the train's got to keep running.
I know. Can we just take a pause? Can somebody just pull the ripcord just for a minute? That's all I want. Give me a couple of years. How about this? Pause the release of Mandalorian Grogu. Release it in 2 years. You know what's going to happen? I'll be frothing at the fucking mouth to see that movie if you just make me wait a little bit. Because right now, don't even care. And I love Pedro Pascal. I love Baby Yoda. And I don't know if I'm going to be there week 1 of the release, man.
No, I'll probably wait. Because are they going to release it week by week, or are they going to put all the episodes?
No, it's a movie. It's coming into
just a
theaters.
movie? Oh, then I'm not watching that. Probably not. No, I'm not watching
See?
that.
See? We should be excited, but we're not.
No. All right, you get that one. You get that one.
Thank you.
Yes, you get that one. All right. Now, I'm a person who really likes New Orleans. I enjoy the city. It's been a little too long since I've been there. It's been I don't know, like 16 months. I really enjoy New Orleans. I think it knows how to do a party. Okay, and it should be ran. We shouldn't go more than 3 Super Bowls without it being in New Orleans. Okay, every 3 Super Bowls. Like, so you had it there. Now you had it in the San Fran-ish area. You got L.A. and then it's apparently going to Vegas. And I love Vegas.
I think I thought it was Atlanta then.
Oh,
Vegas.
Atlanta then Vegas. See, that's too long without New Orleans. Like, that's too long in my opinion without New Orleans. But they know how to party. Well, Shia LaBeouf, a famed actor who at some point there was rumors that he was going to be in some Star Wars movies. He was in the worst Indiana Jones movie of them all, with the Crystal Skull.
You think that's the worst? Oh, did you see Dial of Destiny?
I mean, it's just as bad. I mean, what is it? It's not worse.
So bad.
Aliens, like, all right.
You're right. It was bad.
It's like, I mean, he got a nuclear storm. He gets in a fridge. Anyway, all right. He unfortunately took an L in a fight in New Orleans because he tried to jump on some people. And I think this is a lesson to maybe some of the younger people in the audience, or people maybe have never been to New Orleans. Only go to New Orleans if you're prepared, okay? Because too much New Orleans is too much. It's like too much Vegas is too much, okay? Those drinkers in New Orleans are professional drinkers. They put Bacardi 151 in the drinks on purpose and not just to pass out. Therefore, for him, unfortunately, he apparently was jumping on people in New Orleans bar. It gets outside and the people beat him up. And then they told him just to lay down, stay down, and then they would leave him alone. And apparently they did. But Shia broke the rule. When you go to New Orleans, you have to go with a smile and you got to know how to act. Otherwise, you don't do New Orleans. So Shia didn't learn that lesson, but hopefully he learned it last night.
Yeah, here's the deal. There's a couple cities you just need to know how to behave, and it's very simple. I'll give you the list. New Orleans might be at the very tippy top of that list. I can't stress that enough. Yeah. Vegas, right up there on that list. I mean, because you could do Vegas real wrong, real fast.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'll throw another one in there. New York City. You better know what you're fucking doing when you're going to New York City. Plain and simple, my guy.
Yes. Know how to move. And when in doubt, you stay in Manhattan. If you're a Midtown person, like you go and you say, I love Times Square, stay there. Because that's your people. Stay there. There'll be like-minded people there. You know, you want the slower pace, you want to go to the Village, go ahead down. If you want to go all the way downtown where I like to go, do that. But just stay on the island, okay? Once you get to Brooklyn, you better know what you're doing. If you go out to Long Island, Staten Island, the Bronx, you better know what you're doing. Just say you got to know what you're doing when you go places like that. So if you want to see the tree and the Times Square, just do that. Don't vary too much. You might not know what you're doing.
No, as a guy that lived in Hell's Kitchen, I saw too many people that didn't fucking know what they were doing. You got to know what you're doing, bro.
You go to and New York's a sneaky one because it's not put in the same sentence as Vegas and New Orleans and some other ones, but it's the same.
It's exactly the same. And I fucking love New York. And even though I'm back in LA and I love LA, I always say it's 50-50 half the time, but LA is probably 53-47. It's just, you can't beat the weather. And that's being said, I'm dealing with a shit rainstorm here in LA right now, and I am not digging it. No one knows how to act out here when it fucking rains. These people. Anyways, let's go ahead and reflect. You know, my reflection's not going to be that dissimilar last time I had you on, my guy, because Tyrone, once again, I fucking love doing this with you, man. I look forward to doing it again with you on Friday. I love your takes, and I feel like there's not enough people, and so I guess my reflection is more this. There's not enough people in the sports media industry that you can legitimately just have a real conversation about sports. Everybody's so busy trying to make their fucking hot takes. Everybody's so busy trying to go viral for saying stupid shit, as opposed to just being right and informed and honestly, just having a good time and shooting the shit, talking about what we like. And God forbid that we want our sports to be better.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks so much to the kindness from the audience in between the first and my second time today being on. And I remember my late uncle, he passed last March, so it's been 11 months since he passed away. And he always told me that if you're yourself, that's the one thing you 100% know how to do. And I think that's a lesson that more people need to have, where, trust me, you are enough and just how you are, and you don't need to do all that other extra stuff for a woman or for this or for that. Being yourself is always going to be your best path, and I attempt to do that. Thank you very much for allowing me to do so. Many people have not allowed me to do so over the years. And, man, I'm having a great time, and I can't wait for Friday. I always look forward to Friday. Who doesn't? But now I'm double, triple looking forward to Friday this week.
Yeah, well, dude, I can't stress this enough. Looking forward to having you back on Friday. Guys, that is it for us today. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the show right here on YouTube. Check it out wherever you get your favorite podcast. But stay tuned to us on Instagram because we will be posting videos throughout the day. And again, cannot wait to have you back on Friday. And on top of that, Michelle Beadle back in tomorrow. Don't know who's going to be on Thursday. Get ready for that announcement. But of course, Tyrone, you'll be right back here with me on Friday. Fired up to have you. And hopefully, we'll have some better ideas on whatever the hell is going on with Tony Clark and this Players Association. Holy shit, we're going to lose baseball, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
Oh,
it's crazy.
Jesus, I hate
it's crazy.
This. All right. All right, guys. That's it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow right here at noon Pacific. That's it for Beadle Decker. Like, share, and subscribe. All right. And as always, RIP Estelle Getty.